Hi guys, this is Abi from Gokche Design. Here are the 4 things you need to know about gradient maps in Photoshop. Number 1. Gradient maps can be used for color grading. Let's look at an example. Click on New Adjustment button and select Gradient Map. Click inside the drop-down to bring up the gradient editor. From the Presets window, select black, white. The left side of the gradient slider represents the shadows and the right side represents the highlights. Therefore, moving the black stop right will darken the image and moving the white stop left will lighten the image. To create another stop, click under the gradient bar. I'm going to change the location of this stop to 50% so it's right in the center. Double clicking on the stop will bring up the color picker. Now you can select a color to your liking. I'm also going to change the brightness to 50% so it matches the position of my stop. You can also adjust the position of the new stop depending on whether you want more color in the highlights or in the shadows. Click OK to exit. Now you can play around with the opacity slider to adjust the intensity of your gradient map. And to increase the contrast of the image, feel free to change the blending mode to soft light or overlay. Number 2. Use BlendIf in conjunction with gradient maps to protect skin tone. Let's look at an example. Let's add the gradient map adjustment layer to this image. This time I'm going to use a purple preset that comes in with Photoshop. Notice how my image looks inverted. That's because the lighter colors were placed in the shadow areas and the darker colors were placed in the highlights areas of the gradient slider. So I'm going to fix this by moving the lighter colors to the right and the darker colors to the left. Once the ordering is fixed, play around with the 4 stops to your liking. Next, play with the opacity slider and change the blending mode as per your requirement. Now, if you want to protect the skin tones, or in other words, you don't want the gradient map to get applied to your model's skin, click on FX and choose Blending Options. Change the BlendIf dropdown to the red channel. Move the underlying layer's white slider to the left. Hold the Alt or Option key to break the slider so the transition between the pixels is smoother. In case you're wondering, the reason we chose the red channel is because it's the closest to the skin color. Also, if you wanted to save your own custom preset, in the Presets window, right-click and click on New Gradient Group. Now name the group and click OK. Now you can just name the custom preset and then click on the New button. Number 3. Gradient maps can be used to change colors. Let's look at an example. I'm going to start by clicking on the Quick Selection tool. Next, click on Select Subject. Now use the plus-minus brushes to clean up the selection and to restrict it to just the model's top. Click on the New Adjustment Layer button and choose Gradient Map. In the Presets window, select black, white. Now add a new stop to the gradient bar and use the color picker to change the color of the model's top. As some of you may know already that you can also do this using the hue/saturation adjustment layer. However, using gradient map, you get more control over the colors you can pick. In addition to playing with the stop slider, you can also play around with the little diamond slider to control the transition between the dark and the lighter areas. Number 4. Gradient maps can be used to make luminosity-based selections. Let's look at an example. Start by creating a gradient map adjustment layer. Choose black, white from the presets window. Move the white stop to the center in the gradient slider. Now create an additional stop and move it all the way to the right. Use the color picker to choose black. Now you can gradually move the outer black stops in to isolate a very specific luminosity range based on your requirement. Click OK when done. Now click on the Channels tab and duplicate one of the RGB channels. Next, click on the Load Channel as Selection button. You should see marching ants around your luminosity selection. How cool is that? Now enable the RGB channel and disable the red copy channel. Let's disable the gradient map as well because we don't need it anymore. Adding a curves adjustment layer should automatically copy the marching ant selection to its layer mask. To increase the brightness of our luminosity selection, bring the RGB curve up a bit. And to increase the yellows, select blue from the dropdown and bring the curve down a bit, since blue is the opposite of yellow. Let's look at the before and after images. Looks good to me. There you have it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Until next time.